after stocks took that big hit on Monday amid fears over the coronavirus and an oil price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia. For more, I do want to bring in the founder of Markowski Investments and host of the national radio program Watchdog on Wall Street, Chris Markowski. Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining us today.
Good afternoon. Great to be here.
Let's start off with Monday. Worst one-day drop since the financial crisis. Kind of a perfect storm, though, with the coronavirus and the oil price war happening between Saudi Arabia and Russia. Why does the oil market have such a big impact on the stock market?
Well, we're also thinking about, Greta, we've done really well in the oil sector here in the United States for a while. We've got areas in the country like North Dakota and Texas where we've got a lot of workers that are involved in this industry. We've kind of changed the game when it's come to oil because we've become energy independent. Not only that, we export oil. There's the fear out there, if the price of oil drops to a certain level, guess what? Many of these facilities in this country are not able to produce oil at a price where it can be profitable. And so you're going to see fears of certain oil companies going out of business. We already saw it today, Occidental Petroleum actually stopped trading and they cut their dividend. So this is part of the issue as well, to see what the fallout is. Basically, it's more uncertainty on top of the coronavirus uncertainty.
Do you think that we hit the bottom on Monday, or is there still the possibility for a further drop, as of course this uncertainty about the coronavirus does remain there on Wall Street?
It's going to be headline driven. What tends to happen, and most people don't even realize this because we forget. That's the thing. Since the financial crisis, Greta, we've seen 7 times we've seen corrections of at least 14% in the markets. Actually, go back to 2018, right before Christmas. Most people forgot. The market actually corrected even more than it has already. It was over 20% at that point in time. We've hit 19%. It's going to be headline driven for the next 6 to 7 months. The markets have gotten very, very sensitive to headlines, especially with all the algorithmic trading. So I'd expect more volatility. I wish I could call a bottom. I wish I could. I'd be magic if I could do that.
President Trump did pitch his economic stimulus package to Republican lawmakers today. That includes the possibility of a payroll tax cut, paid sick leave, other policy proposals to help the travel industry and small businesses here in the U.S. How would such a plan influence investors on Wall Street?
Well, right now, it's confidence building, and that's one of the reasons why I think the market went up today, is to say that Washington is going to do something. The last I heard, Greta, and I don't know if you heard any differently, is that they actually floated a 0% payroll tax moving forward, which most certainly would be a stimulus. But we all know how Congress gets to, they get to, together so well on things. They work really well together. So who knows what is going to be able to get through? Obviously, when there's issues out there, he may be able to force his hand a little bit with the Democrats. But we'll see.
And a big concern, of course, for many is how this outbreak impacts profits for publicly traded companies here in the U.S. Airline industry, of course, being impacted this. Many of those companies abandoning their forecast for 2020. How can those companies take this temporary hit in stride and prepare for a bounce back later this year?
Well, one of the things, obviously, we talked about the bad side, the downside of oil coming down and what it can do to certain oil companies, but it most certainly is going to be beneficial to airline companies because that's one of their biggest costs that they have is jet fuel, and that price is going to come down. I think the hope remains that the coronavirus is kind of work its way through the system, and guess what? People are going to still want to go on vacation, and maybe they're just going to delay it. Maybe what is canceled now, they'll make up for, maybe spend a little bit more on in the summertime.
And you talk about lower oil prices, how those would help the airline industry, but that also, of course, can help the consumer here at home. Lower oil prices do ultimately mean lower gas prices. Will that help boost consumer confidence as we face this type of uncertainty surrounding the coronavirus?
Oh, you're spot on. It always can help. People, they say, wow, look what, I'm not spending as much to pump. I'm not spending as much on my heating bill. I'm not spending as much on my electrical bill. Opens up the doors for me to go and do other things. So the president was right on that, and you're right on that as well.
All right. Chris Markowski, the founder of Markowski Investments, joining us live from New York to talk more about Monday's drop on Wall Street and today's buyback. Thanks so much for coming on the show today, Chris.
Thank you so much.